Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll get through all of these different commodities. We'll go from 10-year yield, dollar, work our way through to precious metals, work our way through to the rest of the commodities and ETFs so you guys get a gauge of what's going on in the commodity world. I'll give you my financial opinions tacked onto it. I'm going to use technical analysis to do the evaluation. So let's just dive right in. We've got the DXY here. Again, we're right up against that resistance level. That resistance line, I'll just back out real quick. It's that line that has come across that we've used for support a couple of times and some resistance before. And we were putting a little wick up here. Are we going to break through this where we're going to have a big old run in the dollar to the upside? Or are we going to use this as a double type top where we head back lower? The reason that's important is the dollar going lower is good for commodities. I'm in the camp that it will probably eventually go lower. I'm speculating there. I don't even know if we need it for it. I don't think we need it to go lower. But I'm speculating that it will go lower because that's what we've seen in the past during commodity booms. A lower dollar. Now, lots of garbage currencies all around us, inflating like heck. The dollar could go higher under those types of conditions with energy crises overseas. The 10-year yield is also at a resistance level. So we've got the dollar at the resistance level, and we have the 10-year yield. And we're right at this resistance level, the white line going across. We've broken out of the long-term downtrend in the blue line here going across. So when we zoom in, we're right between the support level and the resistance level of the 10-year yield. The support level is around 2.5% or so. The resistance level is around 3%. If we break to the upside, I suspect that we're going to get a pretty big move to the upside in yields. But we have not broken out yet. So we could head lower and come all the way back to 2.5% again if there's a scare in the market. This is very highly correlated to oil. If oil goes higher, I think this is going to go higher. If we come on back in the fall, and I know they're trying to suppress the price of oil through whatever means, and I know Saudi Arabia is, kind of going at it by cutting back on production. So we've got a little fight going on between Saudi Arabia and we'll call it probably JP Morgan, those oil paper, we'll call it the paper bear market, where this could potentially head a little bit lower. And I think the 10-year yield will go with the oil price. If they get this to go lower, I think the stock market will go up. If this breaks through, it means that oil has broken through and that the 10-year yield is probably heading higher with it. Interesting dynamics playing out in the markets today. TLT, again, this still looks weak, but we are gaining some strength today. So we could head a little bit higher here. Remember, lower yields, lower oil, higher bond prices. They're all interconnected. So we could see a little bit of a rally here in the short term. And also the 10-year, 30-year yield. 30-year yield getting a little bit of a selling pressure today and heading back a little bit lower, where we could head a little bit lower in the short term. CRB index pulling back a little bit. We're at that resistance level. Basically, the CRB index more or less follows oil, and we're right at that resistance line. So we'll see if we can break through tomorrow, or if we're going to pull back and stay within the pattern. This is a flag pattern inverted. They usually work their way lower, and we could get a pullback in the short term where we can get a lot better buying opportunity if it were to come back to this support line at 270. I don't know if it's going to head back there, but this is an inverted flag pattern, and we very well could do an A, B, C type correction somewhere in this range, and possibly we get better buying opportunity in the future if it were to play out that way. A little bit weaker dollar, a little bit weaker 10-year yield usually supports gold, silver, and platinum. So they were higher today, little wick at the top. We do have a downtrend line that's been broken. We're using it as a retest. I still like it here. I think silver also looks good right where it's at. Very much similar setup to gold. And platinum's doing the same thing, little broken downtrend line. We're back against support. I like buying off support levels, and that's where I'd be looking. XAU to gold ratio was slightly higher today. A little bit of momentum, just moving sideways with momentum-wise. And, broken downtrend line, we're still above support here. Everything looks all right for a potential move. Now, is this a flag pattern where we could potentially head lower? I don't know. We'll see. There's kind of the flag-ish. If these are inverted upward, where they're facing upward some, that's usually a bearish sign where it wants to go down. When they are angled lower or angled to the downside, that's usually good for an upward move. But this is kind of sideways, so kind of an indifferent pattern. We'll see which way it breaks. SILJ basically getting the sideways day. It was slightly up. Again, we're above support, above the trend line break, or maybe even the falling wedge break. I'm still bullish, but we could see a little bit of selling pressure in the very short term. GDX, same thing as the SILJ setup. Broken down trend. We could see a little bit of selling pressure in the short term. Scrolling down to crude oil. Crude oil is lower. This is a bearish engulfing pattern where the opening and closing price engulfs the day before it. We are sitting on support. That's what this line is going across. And we have to see if we're going to bounce back and forth between the resistance line, support line, and this support line, or if we're going to hold here. I don't necessarily know what this thing's going to do in the short term, but I can tell you this. We've broken out of the downtrend. We are above support. That's usually a good thing, but we do have a bearish engulfing today, which means that the selling pressure reversed to the downside here, where we could see a little bit of selling pressure here in the short term. And that's crude oil. Every time we start breaking these lines, it seems like the sellers come out, out of nowhere and start selling, even though we're having ridiculous drawdowns in oil inventories. I do think that they're in there playing with the paper markets, even today. The reason I say that is inventories are drawing down. We had a massive draw on Wednesday. It's a little suspicious to have oil prices basically being contained here. That's what I'll say. Natural gas prices are also being ultra resilient. We came out with this reversal candlestick here of a bearish piercing, bearish engulfing, either one. It doesn't really matter. It's a reversal candlestick to go lower, but the price is staying sideways. It makes me think that we want to break to the upside. Are they controlling natural gas as well in this market? I have no idea. But we're right underneath the resistance line. We could definitely try breaking through this at any second. So I think it looks good. Doesn't look like the sellers are really coming in here and pushing this lower. So I'm inclined to think that we have a shot at breaking through the upside of this resistance megaphone type pattern. The pattern I'm talking about is this guy right here. You kind of run through the tops here, and we're right at the top. We've tried to break out multiple times. Sell off, sell off, sell off. We come back down, sell off, and a little bit of selling pressure recently, but we're not really falling back much. Let's see if the buyers have the push here, the force to push us higher. XOP, yeah, you know me, still heading a little bit higher here. It's looking a little bit weak. We need oil prices and natural gas prices to get behind us to push us up. We've got a small little kind of neutral day today. It gapped up and went sideways momentum-wise. Are we kind of contracting here where we're coming, up to a point? Maybe. We could see, if that is the case, we could see a down move with oil if it were to head lower. Oil lower, this will go lower because we are compressing up. I'll draw it a little bit better so you guys can see what I'm seeing. What I mean is this guy is compressing up a little bit. And we're coming up in this little pattern. Maybe it's a channel almost. But if we see some weakness in oil, we'll see what happens. We are getting inventory drawdowns. I'm still a bull. I'm not selling a thing myself. Heading down into energy service companies, we still got a little bit of buying pressure. We got a little wick at the top, and the opening and closing price is starting to converge. What does that mean? Means we could pull back in the short term. And we've got these basically this pattern we've broken out. Sometimes these guys like to do a return, kind of retest move like that, and then come back higher. That could be in the cards in the short term. A little bit of selling pressure before a move higher. Scrolling down to uranium. Uranium looks like we're moving on the futures contracts, which is good. Hopefully we can break out of this pattern here and start moving. If we can get a nice little break here, I think the mining companies will do some crazy things. The Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, we got that big day yesterday. We were partying quite hard, guys. We were partying quite hard. This is the hangover day. I call it the bloody nose. It's a big, large candlestick right next to a down day next to it. It's a profit-taking day is what they'll call it. It's a big, tall guy with a little bloody nose. That usually means we continue higher over time. It doesn't mean immediately, but it means that we might have, maybe we have another small down day tomorrow, and maybe even another one, and then we take and rip it. Sometimes we rip it right after the bloody nose, and it goes right after. We don't want to see large down candlesticks where they're just massive, selling pressure like that. We want to see small down days like this one we have today, or we get going to the upside and the buyers come in and start pushing it higher. So that's what we see there. URNM's also getting that bloody nose, big tall guy with a little bloody nose, bloody forehead, whatever you want to call it. I call it the hangover day. You can I don't know, copyright that or something. CCJ also getting that little bloody nose. Yeah, it was an up day. Yeah, it's a green day, but it's the same type of small little movement. We encountered some selling pressure. There was buyers underneath it. We were kind of just, taking some profits, I guess. Some people were. Not myself. I'm in it long, riding this thing. Pretty mixed day amongst the companies. Looking at TAN. TAN also heading a little bit higher. Again, we're sitting on top of this pattern. Looks fantastic for a move on higher. Scrolling on down to COPX. COPX is getting some traction here. Nice little move today, up 3%. Broken downtrend, above support, and we're going to encounter this next resistance line right above it at about $33. That's our next hurdle that we have to jump over, or resistance line that we have to get through. So that's looking good there. CRB to S&P 500. The S&P had a pretty good day today. CRB was more sideways. So we had a little bit of a down move. Not huge selling pressure here, or not a big move in the ratio, I should say. I think that we're probably going to do something like this. Something on the lines of that. Scrolling on down, rare earth metals also heading a little bit higher today. And still looking all right. Is there the possibility that this rolls over? It's possible, but it's still looking okay. Lithium also getting a little bit of buying pressure today, up 0.43%, still above all these support level lines. I think that it's clear to go higher if the buyers want to push it, and I think that's probably the direction it will go. Looking at SPX, moving higher. We'll see if we can come back to this resistance line. We'll see if we can make it that high. But that looks good to go higher in the short term. The U.S. Composite Index is also following S&P 500. That's also going higher. Scrolling on down to EEM, a little bit weaker dollar. We've broken out of this pattern here. Now, you've heard me say this before last time. We broke out. Step one. Step two is to create a higher low. This is your low down here. Low, low, higher low. And now we're starting to move to the upside. We break this guy here at $41 and close above $41. We are now in a new uptrend for EEM. This looks fantastic for potential investment. If you guys think that the dollar could potentially roll over, I think it probably will. We've got emerging markets. Money's rotating into here. I think emerging markets looks very good on the short term here. We've got this long consolidation pattern. It's massive in size. We did a little breakout and we rolled back over. And now we're starting to gain a little bit of buying pressure and traction for a move higher. So I like it down here. EEM looks excellent. Going to XHB. Yeah, you know me at XHB. I don't know, it just gets stuck in my head. Downtrend line break, moving on higher, nice big bullish engulfing. We're going to look to go higher here. That looks really good. Looking at lumber moving higher today, 6.3%. Looks like we're trying to put in a bottom. There's nice support through here. We'll see if it bottoms out. Looking at cocoa futures heading higher. This looks good to move on up. We've got some sort of megaphone pattern that's starting to develop there. So that looks good. Wheat getting a little bit more of a sell-off. We're still getting a little bit of pressure here at that resistance line, but we got support right underneath it. Soybeans also selling off in this pattern still. So we're still inside the pattern there. And then we've got corn. Good old corn. I think we're going to do a retest move and then head higher. That's a potential there. Copper looking really good, 1.5%. This is kind of just chalking sideways here. We're getting a little bit more buying pressure. I like how it's extending it. Buyers are coming in thinking, hey, maybe this recession isn't here yet. Maybe we can push higher here. So copper's looking a lot better. Looks like, okay, Moo. Moo is moving higher. Looking fantastic on Moo. Again, not much selling pressure, lots of buying pressure. This is a good spot to be. MOO and the fertilizer companies are looking really, really good. Scrolling down to aluminum. Aluminum is, I think, putting in a bottoming pattern here where we'll eventually move higher. Yes, I think so. And I think some of the aluminum companies look pretty stout here. And then Baltic Dry Index, another down day to day. The recessionary fears over in China or the slowdown in China is grabbing the Baltic Dry Index. Doesn't mean you have to be scared, but I still maintain a position in my shippers. If it gets lower, I will pile into it more so if I see a bottom in the short term, bottom in the short term. So that's what I see in the markets today, guys. Hopefully this helps you figure out or make something of the markets. We might see a little bit of downside pressure in oil. That's going to kind of prop up the, we'll call it the S&P 500 and stocks. So we'll see where we go there. I don't think it's going to be a long-term kind of big old pullback. I think we're just going to see a small little pullback. We'll find support, hopefully, turn around, and head on higher. So I'm kind of just waiting, seeing what's going to happen with oil, at least the oil and natural gas stocks. We could very well break higher in natural gas. I'm kind of just waiting and seeing what's going on. I'm not really buying much over there. I'm focusing more on these things that are down. Something like an emerging markets is down. Precious metals are down. You can see fertilizers are starting to gain some strength. Those are the ones that I'm kind of looking at. Aluminum's down. Some of these soft commodities. There could be some opportunity there, and that's kind of where I'm looking to see where the opportunities are. Obviously, I've talked about some of these opportunities and fertilizer companies and whatnot on my website. It's in the description link below. The Platinum membership will get you the access that you want if you want to go to the website and see what I'm investing in at this time. All right, guys, if you like the content, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time.